My name is Niram the Mad, and this is a tutorial about the game Bladesong, a game about making swords, and eventually about selling them. I've got the game open, despite playtest being closed. The devs have some choice words about that, as you can see in the banner. Down in the corner here is the incredibly important Discord link, and the link to the Steam page, which you'd already be intimately familiar with. Creative mode is currently the only mode we can really play with. The credits are nice and short, and the quit button is a death sentence for this video because if I close the program, it ain't opening again. So, we're greeted first with a screen for all our creations. I've played this game a lot. Most of these are mine, but not all of them. You can share copies of swords by sending other people with the game the magic words that you get by clicking the share button that we'll see later. Some of these look pretty crazy, but let's start simple. Click Forge Blade to begin. Alright, our billet. Let's take a look at it. Right-click controls pitch, and yaw. Roll is locked somewhat, and there are some views that are impossible for now, such as the blade looking up while at the camera. But that's a minor inconvenience and may change later. Middle mouse slides along the blade axis, and scroll zooms in and out. Up in the top left corner is the leave button, which backs you out into blade select. It is not the back button, and the number of times I've made that mistake is staggering. From left to right we have blade menu for abilities, furnish menu for parts, look menu for looking, with your eyeballs probably. Finalize doesn't do anything yet, don't be afraid of it. Scuttling over to the top right corner, there's camera mode and toggle environment. Free camera has two environments, fire behind and fire in front. A blade can be rotated more freely than in scene camera, which has 6 environments. 2 of which are special, and we'll get to them later. Screenshot mode allows you to manipulate those same environments, take a screenshot, and open your screenshot folder, which by default is in App Data, Local, Bladesong, Saved, Windows, Screenshots. We'll get to camera flights later, but they're pretty simple. Note the back button, the go back button, is not the square on the other side. We also have the hallowed cross section and blade sides icon. The first shows measurements of the blade, and the second changes which side of the blade abilities apply to. We'll use these in a minute. Finally, the share button, which will give you some magic words to send this exact sword to someone else. Let's make a blade. We'll start with a simple symmetrical sword and use some abilities. Right off the bat, all blades begin with draw out. In order to know how far we need to go, we need to turn on the cross section button. Flip. Blade length shown down here. Draw out. The red lines are the rotational nodes, or pivot points, and they assume your hand is on the handle. We'll come back to this. The most common measurement for a one-handed sword blade is around 70 to 80 centimeters. This is a very popular length because how it interacts with human body proportions. Let's go for that by clicking the draw out button and dragging the red hoop. Part of the blade that is highlighted is your selected area. Ooh, right around there. Next, we'll use flatten. A good thickness for swords is 4 millimeters at the base, so we'll go for that by dragging the orange line downward. Thickness 4. Close enough. Sword widths vary wildly. Rapiers don't often have any shoulders wider than the tang at all, but some swords are wider than your hand at the base. Let's go for 5 centimeters right now, using a broaden ability. That'll do. We'll skip over narrow and narrow grind for now. We'll come back to them on our second sword. Instead, let's make our sword a little less top-heavy by giving it a profile taper, which makes the sword narrower or wider near the tip. This can be accomplished with narrow, but it's more convenient with this ability. Let's go for 2 centimeters near the tip. Right around there. The balance is still high. Let's taper the blade distally, which makes it thinner toward the tip. Going down to about 2 millimeters is common, so we'll do that. Perfect. Perfect enough. Now, let's add a point. You can reposition most abilities by dragging the red loops and change how intense they are by dragging the orange lines. Let's make our point a little sturdier by making it broader. The gray background I'm using is a subtle 5 centimeter grid, so you can see that this ability is about 10 centimeters. Let's start making this sword look more swordy. Adding a cross section gives us our edge. We'll add 2, and we'll head over to the Applied Abilities section to select the first one. You can see the intensity of some abilities over here. We'll drag this one down to the bottom. You'll notice a white loop. This is the blend loop, and you can change its shape by right-clicking it, or its intensity by dragging it. The first line is the ridge line. That tells you how far away your primary bevel ends from the center. We'll keep it nice and broad for now. The second line is your bevel curve, which gives you your grind shape. If you look at the cross-section, you can see a hollow grind or an appleseed edge. We'll go flat, as that's the best balance between durability and sharpness for now. The last line is your edge thickness, which almost always remains low. Note how blend applies to this one as well. If you have weird bumps in your blade, it's almost always because of blend. Let's go extend the second cross-section to the top. Ooh. We'll get rid of our blend so we can keep our edge all the way to the tip, and we'll drag it into the middle. It looks like we have our cross-sections overlapping. And while I could try to shorten them, that might lead to really minute work. I'll just change their layering. Remember, later loses. Use Control and an up or down arrow key to change the order of an ability. Oh. Not all abilities work this way, but it is useful here. You can use the up or down arrow keys to navigate quickly between layers. Left and right do not presently do anything. Wonderful. Wonderful. We'll skip over curvature for now, because curves make things a bit more complicated. On to fullers. Fullers have 3 lines. The outside red line is width. Fullers always lose to cross sections, but they'll try to fill out as much as they can. Let's make our rounded fuller rather thin. Oh. The blue line changes where the center of the fuller is, which comes in handy for some advanced techniques. Let's put it back in the middle. Control-Z and Control-Y work to undo and redo, but only to a limit. The orange line changes fuller depth by dragging it up or down. Look at the cross-section to see what's happening. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Let's add some side fullers. Smooth, so you can see the difference. We'll narrow them down and recenter them further in the blade. Ooh. Side fullers always lose to normal fullers, so we can widen these from here to fill the space without interfering. Right around there will do. Oh. There. Smooth fullers don't terminate evenly. They taper off according to their blend. Great. We'll skip over flamboyance for now as well, but it is a very fun ability. Let's polish up our blade. Huh? Oh. Whoa, too shiny. Let's bring that down a bit to about 80%. Nice. In creative mode, which is all we have during the playtest, we can also change the blade material. We'll make this one blued steel, but we'll do that after we put on a grip and pommel. You'll see why soon. Let's head over to the Furnish menu and look at some parts. That's this one in the middle. Let's start at the top with pre-made hilts. You can cycle through parts with Q and E, and resize them holding W and S, and rotate them with A and D. Oh. Holding shift will allow you to have fine control while rotating or resizing. Let's take this Malchus hilt and resize it to 20 centimeters. You may notice our balance line shrinking toward the grip. Good. Let's add a couple of decorations from the complex parts. A forering to protect the knuckles will try to recenter over the blade or whatever part it's touching. Make it a bit bigger and bam. Hands are nice to have, I must say. Though this helps. These yellow triangles you see are hard points. Any part will snap to a hard point while it's within a certain range. This allows for extremely silly things when you get advanced, but for now, let's add a crown cap. Shift clicking allows you to copy parts. If you hold shift while placing, you get to keep a copy in hand. If you hold shift while clicking, whatever part you selected stays, but you get a new copy of the same scale. You can also use Q and E to cycle parts at the same scale, but we'll keep this symmetric. If you have an extra part, click into the void and it'll disappear. Now for the grip. Let's make an ergonomic grip. Grips are 10 centimeters by default, as is an average hand. Let's grab an inverse taper and resize it to around 5 centimeters. Shift click while placing and cycle with Q until we find a match we like. Ooh, 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 nice. Let's add some ferrule and risers in the middle for flavor. Now to stop our hand from sliding off when we swing and make it easier to find with a thick glove on, let's add a wheel pommel. Type J1. This one has a special hard point, so we'll put the line emblem in it. And our blade is finished. A well-balanced, well-distributed, and functional sword. Or it would be if we were satisfied with a boring sword. Why is this lion not gold? Let's grab a material brush and color it. Note that changed our balance slightly, but not enough for the sword to be bad. This rough steel's atrocious. Polish it. Hut, 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 hut. Black leather? This isn't Judas Priest. Ox blood. With green risers. And these quilling caps? Brass. Almost. Let's add some engravings. My smith mark is a combination of the runes Otila and Algiz. Which is funny because neither of those letters are in my name. Any of them. Anywhere. Oh. Except for that one from RuneScape. This is better, but we passed over some bits. Let's add some studs. Hup. Hup. Click and click. Studs are cool because they can go anywhere, and this can lead to some shenanigans later on. These ones are kind of boring. Let's make them magical. Oh. Glowing. Much better. Now that's a good sword. Let's name it. Click on the top in the middle to change the name. Let's call this one Showboat. At a little over 1 kilogram, this is a fine sword weight. Let's turn off the cross-section and get ready to take some screenshots. While there are many good environments, the white one has hard, direct light, which makes the blade prettier. Let's take a couple of screenshots. How about a camera flight? Set Control 1 for the first point, and Control 2 for the second. Space to start. Use the numbers 1 through 9 on the keyboard to change the speed. Videos don't save yet like screenshots do, but we'll get to that. Click this folder icon to see your screenshots. That'll bring you to your local save. Alright, that's part 1. Hopefully you got enough skills out of it to start experimenting, but if you do want curved swords and more complicated things, there's more work to be done. Part 2. Asymmetric sword time.